Welcome to 360 Sports Network, everybody. I'm Alex Lavison, and with me is James, I don't take crap from anybody, Dodson. Happy holidays, everyone. It's been a beautiful one for sure. A lot of snow here in the Newcastle, Western PA area. Hope all of you have been safe. But today we are going to be discussing some college football bowl action. Dodson, how goes it?
Going well out here. We've gotten through the first set of bowl games. Now it's time to discuss the post-New Year's bowl games. The BCS, because it is so important. We'll spend an entire show just on the BCS, but we want to stick with right now the bowl games that you'll be seeing after the ball drops that don't have the words BCS attached to it.
There you go. Well, I'll tell you what. One thing about being a Pitt fan, and a good thing about going to the ACC, it won't be like you have to wait till February to play your bowl game. So a lot of these January bowl games are ridiculous, like Pitt versus Ole Miss. But, I guess that's part of the imperfect beauty of college football. But let's get right into it. The TaxSlayer.com Gator Bowl features Mississippi State versus number 20 Northwestern Wildcats from the Big Ten. Northwestern has not won a bowl game since 1949, but this might be the year as they enter the Gator Bowl ranked in the top 25. And their all-purpose back is a great one, and hopefully he'll lead the Wildcats in the battle. But, they lost to Nebraska by 1 point in overtime and to Michigan. So we'll see what happens there. Dawson, what do you have to say?
Well, you said it with their all-purpose back, Benrick Mark. He does everything for Northwestern. He runs it, he catches out of the backfield, he returns their kicks. He is the main guy to look out for, and if they're going to win, it's going to be because of him. The fact that they have not won a bowl game since 1949 is a bit scary, especially when Mississippi State has not lost a bowl game since 1999. And they're led by Tyler Russell, their quarterback, who threw for 22 touchdowns this year. When they started 7-0, we were looking at this team pretty hard, but they've lost 4 out of their last 5 games to end the year. And the fact that Northwestern is looking for their first 10-win season since they went to the Rose Bowl back in 95, I think because of that, I'm going to give the edge to the Big Ten and to Northwestern in this game.
Well, I'm rooting for the Wildcats, that's for sure. I'm not really fond of the SEC and SEC teams. And you're right, it is kind of scary. They have not won a bowl game since 1949. I mean, Dotson, that's like back in the days where they wore, leather helmets with no face masks. So that's pretty alarming, especially for them being in a great conference like the Big Ten. So for that program, they need to find a way to win. So I'm going to go, I guess my heart and my head is telling me to pick the Northwestern Wildcats in this bowl game.
Good deal. Well, little Big Ten love to start the show today. Let's move forward to our next bowl game on New Year's Day, the Heart of Dallas Bowl. And I'm getting sick of these names, but whatever, I guess. In the Heart of Dallas Bowl, we have Purdue 6-6 versus Oklahoma State 7-5 out of the Big 12. Both teams like to run the spread offense, a little high octane offense here. The thing that I like to look at in this game, though, is that Purdue, for running a high-octane offense, they don't put many points on the board. They've scored more than 28 points only once this year. I think that might be spelling some trouble for the Boilermakers. What do you think, Alex?
Well, you said it right there. For the Purdue's supposed to have, a high-octane offense. They only put up 28 points a game, and Oklahoma State having that 7th-best passing attack in the NCAA, and I think, the 5th-best overall offense in the country. I just think it's just going to be too much to handle. I also wonder if some of the players are kind of thinking of the new coach coming in from Kent State, Hazel. So I'm going to have to go with the Cowboys winning in the Heart of Dallas Bowl. So that's my pick.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to go with the Cowboys. It's close to a home game as well. They don't have to travel nearly as far as Purdue. We know how that works in bowl games. They struggled at the beginning of the year to find a good replacement for Brandon Weeden, especially when they had some injury concerns. But there's no doubt Oklahoma State is by far the better team. And if Purdue can even keep up in this game, I will be surprised.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go on to our next bowl matchup here. We have South Carolina, Michigan, in the Outback Bowl. South Carolina ranked number 10, and the Michigan Wolverines ranked number 18. I'll tell you what, it feels like Denard Robinson has been at Michigan for like 7 years now. Like, sometimes it's like, when is this guy going to go away? But, as he's returning to his home state, it's for his final game in the maize and blue. He may not be the best QB in the game, but he's a playmaker. But I just, as much as I don't like the SEC, it's just kind of hard for me to go against the Gamecocks here. So, they both have great defenses, and, South Carolina with Clowney. So, oh, man, reluctantly, I'm going to have to go with the Gamecocks here in the Outback Bowl.
Yeah, I can't blame you in that pick. Jadeveon Clowney, if anybody's going to be able to stop a running attack like Michigan has with Denard Robinson, it would be Clowney. But here's the thing to look at. Denard Robinson probably will not be the quarterback for Michigan. In the last couple games, Devin Gardner has been the one behind center taking all the snaps. And in fact, in their game against Ohio State, you saw Denard Robinson taking snaps at running back, a couple times at quarterback, lined up at wide receiver a couple times. I think you're going to see him used all over the field, and this is really for his last game in a college uniform. I know we've been waiting forever to see it, because you're right, he has been there for probably 8-9 years, it feels like. The fact of the matter is, you're going to see him giving essentially a NFL preview, try to show teams in the NFL that, hey, I can play running back in the next level. I could play wide receiver at the next level. So I think that you're going to actually see some surprising things out of the Maize and Blue, and I'm going to give the U of M the advantage of here.
All right, well, there you have it. So on to our next bowl game, the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Nebraska Cornhuskers in the Capital One Bowl. Georgia ranked number 7, Nebraska ranked number 16, 10-3, 7-1 in the Big Ten. Both of these programs had, heartbreaking losses in their last games, in their conference championship games. So it's definitely, both teams are going to be willing to come out there and just, give it all they have. Oh, man, I would like to think, Nebraska would win, but Georgia being a top 10 team, it's going to be hard to deal with. But, Taylor Martinez has shown he can be a great quarterback, so you just wonder if, Jarvis Jones will be able to stop him, contribute to that Georgia defense. This is kind of, I think this will be a closer game than most SEC teams in this bowl season. I'm gonna go with the Bulldogs though, by maybe a field goal. But I would not be surprised if the Cornhuskers win this game.
Yeah, this could be considered a consolation game for the BCS. I mean, both teams. Georgia coming 4 yards from winning their title game and possibly going to the BCS national championship game even. And Nebraska, what team's going to show up? The team that won all those games all year, or the team that gave up 70 points to Wisconsin? I'd be much more nervous if Georgia was a better running team, because Wisconsin put up over 500 rushing yards against them in that game. Georgia, though, they throw the ball. Aaron Murray is a great quarterback, but they got to face the Cornhuskers, who have allowed the fewest passing yards of any team in the country this year. So I think because of that, you're right, Nebraska does put up a game, but I do think that the SEC defense is going to be able to contain Taylor Martinez and those two talented running backs, Amir Abdullah and Rex Burhead. They're really good. I don't see that they can pull off the victory go. I'm going to give Georgia, I think you're right, by a field goal. It's going to be a pretty good game down there in Florida for our third Big Ten versus SEC matchup. Let me ask you that real quick. Why do they have 3 different matchups between the same conferences? Is this like the ACC Big Ten Challenge in basketball or something?
Yeah, I was actually thinking that. This is kind of weird. This has been a very weird season. I remember there's a common phrase, the full season is the time where you could just see your team play against different opponents from different conferences. Seeing a lot of redundancy. West Virginia and Syracuse are in a bowl game, for God's sake. So, 2 teams that were in the same conference for so many years. It just, I don't know, it seems kind of weird almost. But I got no answer for you. But
yeah, I don't think there is an answer, and that's what's really sad about this.
It's college football. Nothing should surprise you, and nothing should not surprise you. That's the way you got to look at it.
You never know what to expect, and that's why we love it so much. I will tell you what to expect in our next bowl game, though, the AT&T Cotton Bowl. You're going to see an absolute shootout in the house that Jerry Jones built down there in Dallas. We have Texas A&M versus Oklahoma. It is the Jerry Jones Bowl. There is no doubt about it, and Jerry Jones will be happy with this one. Number 9, Texas A&M versus number 11, Oklahoma. You got Johnny Manziel, Heisman Trophy winner as a freshman for the Aggies, facing a very powerful Oklahoma team. They both score 40 points per game. They both have a 3,500-yard passer. Both teams have over 500 total yards of offense each game. How do you pick a winner in this game?
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking that too. I mean, Texas A&M, they're in the Big 12 last year. So I mean, I think they are obviously familiar with each other. So, oh geez, this is really such a similar game. It could go either way, but I guess you'll go with the Heisman winner here. If I had to pick one team, so I'll go with A&M by a field goal. That's the best way.
A&M by a field goal. I think that's a very solid pick there. And the question becomes, do you trust a freshman Heisman Trophy winner or a senior who's been starting since he was a freshman? I mean, he's got the third most career passing yards in NCAA history, does Oklahoma's quarterback. Landry Jones is pretty good, but I'm going to have to give the edge to A&M in the end as well. I'm going to say actually they pull away late and win it by 10. Sounds
good. All right, the next bowl. Oh, my God. The BBVA Compass Bowl. University of Pittsburgh versus Ole Miss. Both teams 6-6. Both about 3-4, 3-5 in their conferences. Me being a Pitt fan, is this Pitt's new home or something? This is the third year in a row that Pitt has been playing in Birmingham. They need to start recruiting down there. For God's sakes, this is ridiculous. So, but I guess me being a sports analyst, I got to go over the game. All right, Tino Sinceri, 3,000-yard passer, and Ray Graham, 1,000-yard rusher. This is the first time in school history that Pitt has had that, and yet they're 6-6. I do think it's remarkable what Chris has done for Tino Sinceri. I think he's only thrown 3 interceptions, and he's gone, I think, 9 or 10 games now without throwing a pick. He's on a streak of his own. So, it really is remarkable what Coach Chris has done with Tino. I actually think they'll win this game. I've scouted Ole Miss as much as I can, went over some websites. They just don't seem that good. I know they're an SEC team, but they're kind of like the lower-tier SEC teams. So I am actually going to pick Pitt to win this bowl game. And I expect it to be score 27-10 or something like that. So this is Pitt winning in the Steve Peterson BBVA Compass Bowl.
Yeah, the only thing that would scare me for Pitt is the motivation factor now being here for the third straight year. But I think that having the same coach that they started the year with for the first time out of these 3 years, I think that's going to be the big difference for them. They're going to come out loving that Chris stayed put. He didn't go back to Wisconsin like a lot of people thought he would. I think that's going to be a big part of their motivation. And when it comes to on the field, it's all going to come down to whether or how well Ray Graham decides to perform. And I think he has a monster game because Ole Miss really did not have a great year. The only thing that scares me, when they played in the Egg Bowl at the end of the year against Mississippi State, they allowed only 30 yards of ground offense to Mississippi State. So can Ray Graham run the ball? If they do, they win. If they don't, they lose. I think they do. I think Pitt wins by, I'll say by a score of 21-10 in what should be actually a fairly entertaining BBVA Compass Bowl. Hard to imagine an entertaining game when you have both teams being 6-6.
Absolutely. And one thing I like to point out, Pitt got Paul Chryst to bring his own version of a high-octane Wisconsin offense to Pitt. And this year in offense, they're around 60. So kind of the whole paradox thing going on there. We'll see how that lasts. So let's go on to the whole, what's this next game? The GoDaddy.com Bowl. Okay. Kent State versus Arkansas State. Kent State had a crushing loss to NIU in the MAC championship game. Most people around this area were rooting for them. I was rooting for them. They go up against an Arkansas State team, not exactly the Orange Bowl they were hoping for, but they still have a chance to get to 12 wins this year. So that is something special. Dawson, fill me in on this GoDaddy.com Bowl.
Well, besides the fact that we have another dumbly named bowl game that really means nothing the day before the national championship, what was not even worry about that. Kent State in the top 25 to end the year. They had just a terrible game, but they played a great player in Jordan Lynch in that last game of the year against Northern Illinois. So I don't look at that loss too badly. What worries me about Arkansas State, what Kent State fans should be worried about, is the fact that they started 2-3, but then have rattled off 7 straight wins to end the year. The Sun Belt Conference, not really known for great football, but they've done well in the past in some of these bowl games, and they went to the GoDaddy.com Bowl last year. The other thing, which team does better with an interim coach, as both coaches are moving on to bigger and better ordeals? I think that Kent State, wanting to make up for really a disappointing performance when they could have gone to a BCS, they're going to want to really step up. I think Kent State has the advantage in the end based on their very balanced attack and the fact that they have the most to prove after giving up a chance at possibly going to the Orange Bowl.
Yep, so, we'll see what happens there. It was a big loss for Kent State when they lost Hazel. He's going to Purdue now. But, I think the team will stay focused because, that group of kids wants to get the 12 wins. They want to finish in the top 25. Honestly, if they don't win this game, they don't finish in the top 25, it will be a shame. So I'm going to go with the Golden Flashes here. I actually think they come out and I don't want to say win convincingly, but I think Arkansas State will have their hands full with the Flashes. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was our bowl game prediction preview show. We'll see what happens with our predictions, but, even if we're wrong, even if we're terribly wrong, just enjoy the games because, come April, May, we're all going to be dying for football, even though we're complaining about it now. We're complaining about the bowl system. We're complaining about who should be the national title. We're complaining about there not being a playoff. Just enjoy it because come May or even earlier, we're going to be having withdrawal symptoms to that close of a cracked addict. So we need to get this out of our system now. But anyhow, I hope all of you enjoyed this show. For 3SN, this is Alex Laverson and James No Doubt Dawson. You all have a happy holiday, everybody.